back, everyone. Hello. If you're all comfortably settled, we can start. It feels so good to see you all here. I hope you've sufficiently refueled yourself, because right now we're going to dive into the last session of CATA Day 2. So before the break, we had the Commissioner's Chat program and 3 parallel working group sessions. To start off this last session, I would like to invite Mr. Zarir Hassan, the Commissioner General of the Maldives Inland Revenue Authority, to debrief us on the Commissioner's Chat program. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Zarir Hassan. Hello, sir. The floor is all yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. CATA President, Executive Secretary, Vice Chair, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and Assalamu alaikum. Today we have heard about Esther's League, Esther's team. So I had to represent probably Esther's veterans team. So that since I'm representing Commissioner General's Connect program outcome, so that I believe I have to be very precise in delivering the discussions that we have had in the Commissioner's Connect program meeting. I would like to thank, on behalf of all the Commissioner Generals, to the Mauritius Tax Authority on hosting this important CATA conference and the hospitality they have extended to us during the past few days. First of all, on behalf of the Commissioner Generals who met at this Commissioner's Connect program this afternoon, I would like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to the CATA Executive Director on the successful introduction of Commissioner's Connect program. So this initiative has provided an excellent platform for Commissioner Generals to connect, exchange ideas, and foster camaraderie. This program was launched in July, and then I was one of the Commissioner Generals who had the opportunity to get connected with the Commissioner Generals and was able to hear on the strategies that the Commissioner Generals have been following in attending challenging issues. So the program launched in July and has been planned to hold the session on quarterly basis, so that the Commissioner's Connect has already been proven to be a valuable resource. In this conference, Commissioner Generals had the opportunity to meet in person and further enhance the experience, creating a more conducive environment for meaningful discussions through this program. The Commissioner Generals hope that this program will continue to be an important platform for strengthening cooperation among Commissioner Generals. Today, the Commissioner Generals convened to discuss the evolving landscape of human resource management in the aftermath of COVID-19 pandemic. The discussion focused on several key areas critical to adapting and thriving in this new environment. Discussions include adapting to new work concepts, which could be work from home concept, and also building trust and monitoring performance, retaining talent and building capacity, restructuring, and new remuneration packages, which could be the most interesting part of most of the people in this whole new remuneration packages, and then keeping staff highly motivated. The pandemic has accelerated the adoption of remote work, digital transformation, and flexible work arrangements. These changes have necessitated a re-evaluation of traditional HR practices and policies. We explored how our organizations have adapted to these new realities, emphasizing the importance of employees' well-being, mental health support, and continuous learning and development. Moreover, we have highlighted the need for robust communication strategies to maintain engagement and productivity in a hybrid work environment. The role of technology in facilitating these changes cannot be overstated, as it has enabled us to stay connected and efficient despite physical distances. A key aspect of our deliberations was the importance of keeping staff motivated in this new work environment. We discussed various strategies to boost morale, such as recognizing achievements, providing opportunities for career growth, and fostering a supportive and inclusive workplace culture. Additionally, designing remuneration packages that reflect the changing dynamics of work and incentivize performance is crucial. This includes offering competitive salaries, performance-based bonuses, and benefits that cater to the diverse needs of our workforce. We also examine best practices for retaining talent and building capacity within our organizations. Retaining top talents required creating an environment where employees feel valued and have clear pathway for advancement. This involves regular feedback, professional development opportunities, and commitment to diversity and inclusion. Building capacity, on the other hand, focuses on equipping employees with the skills and knowledge needed to meet future challenges. This can be achieved through targeted training programs, mentorship, and fostering culture of continuous improvements. While the situation in each tax administration may differ, understanding the changing environment and adapting to evolving requirements is essential for long-term success. We must remain agile and proactive in addressing the challenges posed by the post-pandemic world. By fostering a culture of resilience and innovation, we can ensure that our organizations are kept at par in competing with the private sector. In conclusion, our deliberations underscored the importance of collaboration, adaptability, and a forward-thinking approach in navigating the complexities of human resource management in the post-COVID era. By sharing our experiences and strategies, we are better equipped to face the future with confidence and ensure the continued success of our organizations. Once again, I would like to congratulate and convey our thanks to the CATA management and secretariat for initiating this program, the program of Commissioners Connect, and we hope in future we will be having more of this kind of programs. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, CG, Mr. Zarir Hassan, for enlightening us on the Commissioner's Chat program. Ladies and gentlemen, as you're all aware, we had the 3 parallel working group sessions with very interesting and pressing topics in today's times. If you're worried that you have missed on an interesting topic, rest assured, we've got you covered. Let's start with the first group. As we all know, tax evasion remains a global issue. In that context, automatic exchange of information has emerged as a crucial tool. Now, how effective of a tool automatic exchange of information is to combat tax evasion, this is what formed the core of Group 1. To enlighten us on this issue, let us please welcome on stage Rapporteur of Group 1, Mr. Ahmad Sharif, Assistant Commissioner General of the Maldives Inland Revenue Authority.
All right, we got the slides, so let me begin. President of CATA, the Executive Director, the Commissioners, Heads of Delegations, and distinguished participants, good afternoon. I am Ahmad Sharif from the Maldives Inland Revenue Authority, and as the Rapporteur of Working Group 1, I am pleased to be here to brief on the session we had in Working Group 1. However, before proceeding to this, I would like to take a moment to thank the MRA and the CATA Secretariat for the excellent arrangements made to make this conference a successful one and a memorable one for all of us. Thank you. This is the Working Group 1 details. The topic assigned to Working Group 1 was effective use of automatic exchange of information in combating tax evasion. This is a very relevant topic, and we have very productive discussions among the working group members on the topic. Nevertheless, owing to the time limitation, we did not hear from a lot of countries, but we heard from few countries, so we have heard different views from various countries. First, let's see the key drivers of the need for automatic exchange of information. Now, automatic exchange of information helps to combat tax evasion on cross-border transactions, across borders, promoting tax transparency, and also it helps in fulfilling commitments made under tax treaties and conventions. It also ensures tax compliance, and also it helps to fulfill the commitments under international standards. These benefits in turn help in boosting the domestic revenue mobilization and increasing the tax revenues. One of the key areas that was discussed was the challenges countries face in implementing AEOI. While different countries have different extent of the challenges, many of the challenges are common to most of the countries. Looking at the challenges, we noticed data quality issues as one of the main challenges in implementing successful AEOI, managing large volume of inbound and outbound data, coordination among stakeholders, technical issues with reporting systems, ensuring reporting financial institutions understand their obligations was also one of the challenges that was identified in the discussion. Delays in getting approvals from relevant agencies is yet another challenge that was identified in the discussion. Securing adequate funding for AUI software is also seen as a challenge, as this could be quite expensive investments. While there are several challenges in this, as this has been in effect for quite some time, in fact from the year 2017 onwards, there are valuable lessons that have been learned by countries who have been part of this process, so that the newer countries can learn from them. Some important lessons include the importance of regular engagement with reporting financial institutions, RFIs. So as the RFIs are the key partner who are responsible for sharing the information with the tax administration, it is very important that we have close contact and good relation with them. Another important aspect is to have data matching tools. Without proper data matching tools and arrangements, the data we get may not be utilized to its full extent. It is also important to have proper stakeholder engagements and provide clear guidance on different RFIs. Also, importance of data matching can't be overemphasized, as without the proper use of it, the information we get may not be put to good use. Collaboration with global forum and more experienced jurisdictions to learn from the experiences of them is yet another way newer countries can learn from the lessons learned by the countries who are already in the framework. We also discussed on the impact of AI on compliance, especially to tackle tax evasion, and some important points that were discussed is that the use of AEOI helps in enhanced taxpayer profiling because we get information on taxpayers that we didn't get before, improved audit case selection, improved debt recovery, enhanced audit capabilities, increased transparency, and voluntary compliance. These are some of the benefits. It was also discussed that by providing information about, since through the AEOI we are getting information on all the account holders, including those who are previously not under the radar of the tax administration, we are getting information that we previously may not have looked for. Hence, This further broadens our horizons to expand our investigative powers. As the data exchange through the AOI is sourced from the RFIs, the importance of supporting the RFIs was also highlighted. In this regard, regular outreach and training programs need to be conducted so that the RFIs are in the same page with the developments on the standard. It was also identified that having a dedicated helpline to address the queries arising from those entities are useful. Providing all relevant guidelines and references to RFIs, conducting regular workshops and seminars for RFIs of different sizes, preparing of onboarding guide for new RFIs, dedicated CRS webpage and compliance guides and FAQs, development of a comprehensive compliance guideline in consultation with industry are all important aspects in terms of supporting RFIs. Since the exchange happens through the use of technology, our systems, the systems of the RFIs needs to cope for the requirements. Therefore, it is very important that the systems held by the tax administration as well as the reporting entities are able to cater for the needs. Some countries have developed AOI reporting portal, while some countries are using third-party softwares. To cater for this, the systems needs to validate data in accordance with XML schema, understand and flag file errors, encrypt and decrypt packages, and it should be hosted on a separate server from the enterprise servers. Lastly, the importance of standardizing the process was also discussed. In this regard, seamless implementation of AI is important, and it should be easier for jurisdictions to comply with the standard, and also it should support quality data and accurate and reliable information. It should also be designed in a way to reduce burden on financial institutions operating in multiple jurisdictions. It should also simplify cross-border collaboration between tax authorities. Well, that's a summary of the discussions from the Working Group 1. Thank you all for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you for your valuable insight, Mr. Ahmed. Indeed, automatic exchange of information remains a powerful tool for tax administrations and shows how useful international cooperation can prove to be in the fight against tax evasion in this era of globalization. Ladies and gentlemen, our second group had cryptocurrency and digital assets on their agenda. Cryptocurrency is changing the way we think about money. We, as tax professionals, it's crucial for us to understand these changes. But more critically, we need to equip ourselves to understand this journey from physical coins to digital coins. So, distinguished audience, let us now welcome on stage Rapporteur of Group 2, Mrs. Angela Durham, Senior Manager, Enforced Collection, Barbados Revenue Authority. So please join me to welcome Mrs. Angela Durham.
Good afternoon, Chairman, President, Vice President, Executive Director of CATA, delegates, fellow commissioners, and participants. Working Group 2, Cryptocurrency, Digital Assets, the Challenges of the Tax Administration. What we realized in our group is that there was no definite uniformity in the treatment of crypto assets. We have although realized that most persons went with the definition from the OECD, which says it is a digital representation of a value that is not issued by a central bank. It is traded, transferred, and stored electronically by natural or legal persons for payment, investment, and other forms of utility, and it applies cryptography techniques in the underlying technology. What we realized in our group also, if we had to use a number line, that we have entities that are still in the embryonic stage, where digital assets are viewed as illegal transactions, so they don't address it at all. Then we have parties that are at stage 1, where they're in the infancy stage, and we're now developing guidelines. There are some entities that are further down the line, and they are like at 3 or 4, and they may have some guidelines to give direction, and they're at various stages of recognition. There has been limited amended legislations to address cryptocurrency, and where the legislation has been amended, it has failed at sometimes to identify if it is a taxable event on the disposal or transfer of the asset. The valuation also varies, with some entities going with the FIFO method, and that is on the transfer or the disposal at the time. There was also no uniformity in whether it will be treated as revenue or capital. In terms of tracing the digital asset for business use, that too proved to be varying among all the participants. There were few that have recognized it on the tax return, where it was just a tick to indicate that you hold or you have traded in the asset, but most were only identified through audit. In terms of the seizure or realizing of the asset, it would be treated like any other asset, and you can imagine the challenge it would be to seize a digital asset. So what we have recognized is that there is need for guidelines and assistance. So basically, we're asking, as a delegation in our group, that the policymakers are considering, that you may consider providing guidelines on how the virtual currency, how it fits into the existing tax framework. And this we are asking our CATA to lend support, because this is a new area, and as you can see, we were at various stages. Some were beginning, but no one is at the end. And as you can see, this being a digital asset, and we haven't yet quite grasped it, hence I'm presenting to you on a paper. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation because we aren't there as yet. I thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Angela Durham, for explaining to us the challenges that tax administrations face with regards to cryptocurrency and digital assets and how we could possibly deal with them. Ladies and gentlemen, let us now move on to our third and last group for the session, e-invoicing. As we navigate a landscape that is highly digitalized, e-invoicing emerges as a tool that helps to enhance efficiency and transparency. But what are the benefits and challenges in implementing such a system? This is what Group 3 was discussing all about. To hear more about this, let's welcome the rapporteur of Group 3, Mr. Mark Conrad, Senior Program Advisor with the Canada Revenue Authority. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Mark Conrad on the stage, please.
Good afternoon, esteemed colleagues. While I know it's been said a number of times already, I feel I would be remiss if I didn't also thank the Mauritius Revenue Authority for this outstanding event they've organized and hosted for us. In my opinion, Mauritius absolutely deserves its nickname of Paradise Island. And I think the only thing better than the warm weather is the very warm welcome we've had since we got here from the entire MRA team. I would also like to thank Esther, our esteemed executive director, for giving me what I'm pretty sure is the last speaking role of the day. Always a popular spot to be in because, of course, no one is hungry, no one is tired, and everyone's happy to stick around for another 15 minutes or so. Rest assured, I will do my best to be brief. Please don't worry, I have no more than 70 or 80 slides to get through. We'll be out of here before you know it. So, I also would like to say that I realize this is not a popularity contest, but I would simply like to point out that the session on e-invoicing attracted more participants than any of the other sessions, a total of 35 people. I don't want to definitively say that that means e-invoicing was the most relevant and interesting topic, but we're all tax people and we know that numbers do not lie. I'll just leave it at that. Many thanks to all the members of Working Group 3 who provided really interesting input during our session and also provided some very relevant written input prior to this conference. That's been very helpful in putting together our combined presentation. We deliberately chose to ignore the mechanics of e-invoicing, instead looking at the key drivers behind it, the challenges, the perceived advantages, and so on, and we'll culminate with looking at some hopefully possibilities for future work by this group. So, e-invoicing. The members of our group certainly recognize the importance of e-invoicing. And as our technical expert pointed out, the question is not whether, but when tax administrations will implement it. It's interesting to note that within our group, probably about half of the members have not yet implemented, and that includes my own country, Canada. And there are a number of reasons for that, but I would say most countries are in the process of at least planning for implementation, so it's definitely moving forward quickly. It's worth noting that many countries that have implemented or are implementing use a phased approach, often including pilot programs, typically starting with the largest taxpayers and then scoping outwards from there. We also discussed the fact that e-invoicing is definitely part of the larger trend moving towards digital tax administration in response to the increasing digitalized economy worldwide. So some of the key drivers of adopting e-invoicing. Obviously, a big one is increased tax revenues, increased collection. No mystery there. Another big one is improved voluntary compliance. This includes deterring the informal economy or the underground economy, as well as tax evasion and fraud. And of course, that helps to result in greater fairness for all taxpayers. Also, a key driver is improved taxpayer service, though taxpayers might not always recognize that during the implementation process. It does eventually result in more seamless, more digitalized, more timely tax administration. Another advantage or another key driver is increased efficiency and effectiveness of business operations, and as a result, decreased costs. And then the last 2 points here are the real-time availability of data, which is an advantage to tax administrations. And finally, our group members felt that implementation of e-invoicing helps to contribute to the SDGs, specifically the green economy. So I think that's an important point worth mentioning. Now, in terms of some of the implementation challenges, well, there are many, to be frank, and kudos to all those countries who have successfully implemented and overcome all of these hurdles. Obviously, garnering the political will to move forward with e-invoicing is a big challenge. It was noted that democracies sometimes struggle with getting the political will, particularly from one administration to the next, to move forward with this, although obviously that's beyond the control of tax administrations. Another big challenge is making the necessary legislative amendments. And among other things we discussed were, what are the legal ramifications of electronic signatures and digital documents and so on? Of course, cost. Several members mentioned that e-invoicing can be prohibitively costly. And then, of course, there are the IT requirements, ensuring that systems are available and ready, ensuring that staff have the skills to deal with the new infrastructure that's being put in place. And then on the taxpayer side, ensuring the availability of approved software with a common format, another very important consideration, as well as, of course, the necessary data management infrastructure to deal with the increased flow of data to the tax administration. And we also briefly touched on the need to align e-invoicing processes with existing business processes. And finally, and this is an important one, overcoming taxpayer resistance. On a personal note, I will mention that my partner runs her own small business, and when she found out I was giving this presentation, she asked me to explain e-invoicing and why it's a good thing for taxpayers. She remains unconvinced. I will continue to work on her, but it just goes to show that it's not always easy at first blush to see the obvious advantages. It takes some time. Moving on then to benefits to taxpayers. We felt that definitely the increased tax certainty was a big plus, as are the reduced operating and compliance costs. Obviously, taxpayers are able to switch to a much more paperless business environment. They're also able to, in many cases, simplify their information reporting and records keeping, which is helpful. The automation of processes is another important consideration for taxpayers. And finally, sort of in keeping with our earlier point about the SDGs, it is more environmentally friendly to use e-invoicing rather than older systems of invoicing and filing. Now, generally speaking, tax administrations that have implemented e-invoicing have provided a considerable amount of support to businesses in order to get their buy-in and in order to smooth the process. As I already mentioned, this includes, in many cases, pilot programs. Many tax administrations have also run engagement sessions with taxpayers, which have proved helpful, as well as regular, timely, ongoing communication. That's really a key point. This includes establishing dedicated e-invoicing contact channels to deal with taxpayers' questions. A number of tax administrations have also taken responsibility for certifying software vendors to make sure that taxpayers are receiving the products they need. And finally, an interesting point raised by some of our members: in some countries, taxpayers are actually able to offset initial startup costs against taxes payable, and their maintenance costs vis-a-vis their e-invoicing systems are recognized as deductible business expenses. So I guess that's a nice little perk for them. Now, in terms of the impact of e-invoicing on compliance and reduced tax evasion, not invasion, clearly the integration of e-invoicing systems with tax return filing helps to ensure accurate tax reporting. This also generally results in a reduction in tax evasion and fraud, always an important consideration. Obviously, tax authorities know expected VAT, GST amounts before they're filed. The real-time reporting is an important impact, as is the increased availability of data. There's a great deal more data coming into tax administrations through e-invoicing than through other sources. So that is a nice segue into our discussion of protection and use of e-invoicing data. Obviously, tax administrations are all aware of the very great importance of safeguarding taxpayer information. This is even more so the case with e-invoicing systems in place. Obviously, tax administrations require some secure IT facilities and infrastructure to go with that. The means to have strong secure data encryption. Within the tax administration, appropriate access controls and governance to determine who has access to the data, as well as good data backup and recovery. And finally, there is a need for advanced data analytics tools in order to help manage and deal with and make effective use of all the data that's coming in. So our talk shifted away from purely domestic implementation towards the possibility of global standardization of e-invoicing. And I think there was broad consensus that this is potentially a good thing to have happen at some point in the future. Members felt that this would help to facilitate digital transformation as a whole. Standardized formats could certainly result in seamless cross-border interoperability. And members felt that global e-invoicing standards would help to drive global digitalization. And just a note here to regional and international tax organizations, and perhaps CATA specifically, we definitely feel there's a role for these organizations in helping to develop and promote global standards, provide guidance and support, as well as encourage global adoption and cooperation. Now, in terms of future trends, again, I think e-invoicing is a bit of a harbinger of digital transformation in general. Future trends members identified include increased real-time reporting, a growth in tax compliance by design, potential implementation of e-assessment and e-audit based on real-time e-invoicing data, and also, as we've kind of touched on already, increased data analytics as part of the overall compliance continuum. So consideration of future trends brings us to considerations for future work by Working Group 3 and maybe other members of CATA as well. There were a number of points we came up with where we thought potential work in the future might prove useful. One is perhaps the development of a roadmap for implementation of e-invoicing, recognizing that there's no cookie-cutter approach to this. It's obviously an individualized approach in each country, but there are some standard best practices and recommendations and so on that could prove helpful. We also talked about the need for model systems, process based on successful implementation, and I don't know why it says implementation there twice. It should be implementation and administration. Also, perhaps the possibility of expanding the scope of e-invoicing beyond just VAT and GST. And I will point out that a number of members have already done so and expanded e-invoicing to a number of different tax lines. We also felt that cross-border standardization and harmonization might be helpful. This could include on a regional basis as well as internationally. We thought it would be helpful to take a detailed look at data analytics and management, as well as a few other considerations listed there that I'll let you read on your own. We would like to define the structure of work moving forward. We feel this might be an appropriate role for the CATA MC and Secretariat. And yes, I am looking down the room at the head table when I say this, so something to consider. Finally, I'll leave you with a remark that the chair of our working group made, and I think it's a very good one. There is no single solution to e-invoicing. Every country has different needs and different uses. However, we can certainly work together to help identify those common goals, objectives, and challenges that face us all. That brings me to the end of my presentation, other than to say thank you very much to all the members of Working Group 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conrad. You were our last speaker, but definitely not the least. As you rightly pointed out, e-invoicing definitely is a game changer, and adopting this powerful tool can definitely prove to be a game changer for all countries. Ladies and gentlemen, With this, I would like to thank all our speakers today for sharing their expertise, their knowledge, their information. This is what makes the CATA conference so special, this incredible information sharing among countries. Dear speakers, to express our gratitude, we have a token of appreciation. To do the honors, I would like to call upon Mr. Sam Koim, the Commissioner General of PNG. I would like to call upon our first speaker for this last session, Mr. Zarir Hassan, the Commissioner General of Maldives Inland Revenue Authority. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Zarir Hassan, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Zarir Hassan. Mr. Sam, I'll please request you to remain on stage. I would now like to call upon the chairing committee of Working Group 1, the chair, Mr. Gautam Mukundan, the vice chair, Mr. Femi Edgal, the rapporteur, Mr. Ahmed Sharif, and the expert support, Mr. Ervis Chuata. Please, gentlemen, can we have you on stage, please? Our Vice Chair, Mr. Femi Edgal. Our Rapporteur, Mr. Ahmed Sharif. And last but not the least, our expert support, Mr. Ervis Chuata. Thank you very much. I would please request all of you to assemble for a photograph for posterity. Yeah, please, sir. Thank you to all our panel members of Working Group 1. I would now like to call upon the panel members of Working Group 2, the Chair, Ms. Haida Abdul Hamid, Vice Chair, Mr. Laban Simbey, the Rapporteur, Mrs. Angela Durham, and the expert support, Mr. Ervis Chuata. We'll start with the Chair, Ms. Noor Haida Abdul Hamid. Mr. Ervis Chuata, where are you, sir? It's a double token for you. We'll start with the Chair, Ms. Haida Abdul Hamid, please. The Vice Chair, Mr. Laban Simbey. Our rapporteur, Mrs. Angela Durham. And our expert support, Mr. Ervis Chuata. I will again request everyone, please step forward for a photograph, please. Thank you, panel members of Working Group 2. I would now like to call upon the chairing committee of Working Group 3, the chair, Mr. Dhanraj Ramdin, vice chair, Mr. Vusi Ninkam Falala, rapporteur, Mr. Mark Conrad, and our export support, Mr. David Boja. We'll start with the chair, Mr. Dhanraj Ramdin. Vice Chair, Mr. Vusi Nink Falala. Our rapporteur, Mr. Mark Conrad. And last but not the least, our expert support, Mr. David Boja. I would request everyone to please smile for the gentleman. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, panel members. Thank you, Mr. Sam Koim, for doing the honors. Ladies and gentlemen, we now have a few announcements for you. Ledasan, can you please take over?
Yes. Thank you, everyone. So I have one good news and one bad news. Which one you want to hear first? Bad news, we have to come back tomorrow. And the good news is that we're almost done for today. No, seriously, I have one key with me for your room. So make sure you take it from me, otherwise you'll have to sleep on the beach tonight. So just check that. One announcement. The second one is that we have the most awaited event of the CATA conference, which is the CATA night. So before we go to that exceptional night, please, if you have any event you're preparing, any item, cultural or any type of item you want to present to us, so please liaise with our country correspondent, Mrs. Mukta Tufani, or anyone from the Secretariat. You please arrange with them and please let us know in advance if you're preparing something so that we can also prepare for that special item you want to do. That's it. By tomorrow? Okay. Humble request to let us know by tomorrow noon if possible for your special item which we are waiting for. That's it. So that's, yes sir?
Have prepared, but actually there's no option. Those who have not prepared and they came alone, if they can be a stand-up comedian, that's fine. Otherwise, you have to find your regional members to collaborate. So regional directors duly appointed work among your own region, make sure that there's some
Great.
presentation from the region. We welcome those who have prepared to be presenting as a single country, but for those who have not, regional director, ensure that your region has something to showcase tomorrow night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if I want to just summarize what Dr. Esther was saying, if you don't come prepared, please don't come to the CATA night. And also, so
Not
if
at
you-
all. We are encouraging everybody to collaborate.
Yeah, please, you're most encouraged. Yeah. That's it, and Yashvi will just conclude the session for today. Don't forget your key.
In fact, ladies and gentlemen, I have one more announcement. Someone seems to have left his or her diary behind. This is quite funny. Yesterday we had the food fusion night, and today someone has lost his room key, and now I can find the diary. Tomorrow we have the CATA night. I don't know what awaits us now. So, in case you recognize the handwriting and it is yours, you can contact me after this session. So with this, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of our day 2 of the tax conference. I would again like to thank all our speakers for their valuable insights, and to each one of you for your participation and your engagement. Definitely, this was an absolutely enriching session. And with this, I would like to wish you safe travels back to your accommodation. See you tomorrow morning, early and bright. Thank you.